Have you had a feeling of meeting someone for a long time, even without ever seeing it before? As if there was an invisible connection, a kind of wire that connects two souls beyond logic and chance? These meetings seem simple coincidences, but what if I tell you that they can be something much deeper? What makes two people find themselves at the exact moment they need each other? Are these connections merely the result of chance, or is there a majeure force acting behind the scenes of our existence? Throughout this video, we will explore these issues and understand how the universe and the unconscious can guide us towards encounters that transform our lives. Carl Jung stated that nothing happens by chance, and that what we interpret as coincidence can actually be the language of the unconscious guiding us. When we know someone and feel an inexplicable connection, we are not facing a mere chance, but a sign. Something that comes from the deepest layers of the psyche and drives us to growth. Before we follow, I want to ask you, have you ever stopped to reflect on the power that a true connection has in our lives? How do you feel that the people around you influence your journey? Have you ever met someone who really helped you see who you are? Or maybe you are waiting for that person. If this theme has played something inside you, I really want to know your opinion. Leave a like down here to show that you also believe in the power of authentic relationships, and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue this conversation and further explore these subjects that impact our life deeply. And talking about connections, where are you from? I want to know which city is accompanying us right now. Leave your comment below, share your experiences, and if this video made sense to you, how about sharing with someone who also needs to reflect on relationships in your life? In doing so, you are helping to spread this message to more people who, like you, seek to connect with your essence and true love. This kind of meeting goes beyond simple affinity or attraction. It is a resonance between souls, a silent echo that travels from the unconscious to the surface of our reality. Jung called this phenomenon of synchronicity, events that happen simultaneously and have a meaning, although they do not have an apparent causal relationship. We often feel it as a shiver, a look that seems to carry old memories, or an energy that we had never experienced before. And even without fully understood, we know that that person came into our lives for a reason. When a meeting is guided by this invisible force, everything seems to flow. There is no need to force anything, hide who we are, or pretend feelings. There is only a profound familiarity, as if we recognized another existence. Jung believed that these ties are not created out of nowhere, but reunited, that our souls are sought and intersect at different times of our psychic development. And that's why, when something like this happens, we feel that the story is not starting, but continuing. Before moving on, I want to warn you that my book is now available. In it, you will find techniques and reflections to overcome emotional blocks and strengthen your journey of self-knowledge. The link is in the description and the fixed comment. Now, returning to our theme, it is important to remember that true connections do not mean absence of challenges. On the contrary, people intended for us often activate our deepest shadows. Jung said that soul growth occurs through internal confrontation, and that the most significant relationships are not necessarily the easiest, but those that make us look inside. Sometimes the one who is destined for you is precisely who will challenge you, show your vulnerabilities, and bring up parts of you who are hidden, and that can be painful. But it is exactly in this process that resides the key to transformation. There are people who enter our lives as mirrors. They are not just there to comfort us, but to give us clarity. They reflect our fears, insecurities, and weaknesses, but also show our light and our potential for evolution. Have you ever felt that by connecting with someone, something deep in you suddenly woke up? Like a spark that lights a sleeping flame within you? It may be difficult to understand at first, but over time, it all starts to make sense. This person did not come to fill a void, but to awaken what was already there. For Jung, this has a name. It is the process of individuation, where through relationships you find who you really are. At times like this, you realize that when someone is really part of your destination, there is no need to force anything. You don't have to arrest the person, because what is genuine is not lost. There may even be moments of removal, silences, or even temporary separations, but the connection, this remains. As an invisible wire that continues to pulse, no matter the physical distance. Now stop a moment and think. Have you wondered why certain people come into your life without making an effort to attract them? What's more, why do some of them seem to know your way even before you realize? The answer lies in the work of the unconscious. He begins to act deeply, sending you dreams, intuitions, and even sense, preparing you for what is to come. As your soul prepares for this meeting, you transform yourself. And as curious as it may seem, when the right person finally arrives, it's not because you came to you, but because you became the person who could receive it. Jung always said, "You don't attract what you want, but what you are." When everything fits effortlessly, it is because you have already reached the level of consciousness needed to support this connection. But perhaps the most fascinating of all is that this person is not always coming the way you expected. Often it may not be the kind of person you imagined or dreamed of, and yet something about it touches you in a unique way. It is an energy, a look, a gesture, something that disarms you and leads you to a deep feeling that everything makes sense. Because in the end, this person is not just a presence, but a lesson, a teaching. It is the bridge to its deepest essence. Jung believed that often painful experiences, losses, and moments of disappointment are the preparation for what is to come. Each tear, every difficult situation was part of the evolution process, reorganizing your life so that you were ready to meet something true. Everything that seemed without explanation would gain meaning as you were being prepared for this moment. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone comes into your life and the connection is so deep that you don't need words? No, we are not talking about any relationship, but a connection that transcends the boundaries of reason. Something so genuine that it is possible to feel even in silence. Is there an invisible force that unites two people in such a natural way? How can we distinguish whether someone is really destined to us, or if it is just another passage in the way of life? These are questions that certainly accompany us, but the answers may come up unexpectedly. The relationship with someone destined for you goes beyond everything you imagined so far. It is not about filling gaps, as you often think. On the contrary, this person arises to show the empty spaces that still exist within you. Jung would explain that in a true bond, two whole beings are not found to complete, but to expand together, to grow in each other. This connection does not make you lose your identity. Quite the contrary, it strengthens you, challenges you to be who you really are, to face your shadows, and to integrate everything you are. Jung teaches us that when finding the authentic, the soul is never fooled by appearances. And when this happens, something lights up within you, like a flame that reveals the paths of self-knowledge. Have you noticed that when someone is destined for you, peace doesn't just come from quiet moments. Often it comes from the challenge, the opportunity to face the pain that has been kept for so long. But how to know that this person really belongs to his destination? Jung believed that the unconscious sends us powerful signs, such as dreams and intuitions, which show us that we are on the right track. When you feel genuine peace, a deep certainty that transcends any logical explanation, it is because your soul recognizes the truth of this connection. However, this certainty does not mean that fear disappears. On the contrary, often the true transformation is linked to fear. The fear of playing in something new, the fear of facing the shadows that come up when we are face to face with someone who is destined for us. But that is precisely where growth happens. True self-knowledge is only possible when we face the deepest fears and we have the courage to make the jump. So if you have already lived relationships that destroyed you, that broke it, Maybe it's because these moments were preparing you for something bigger. Jung believed that painful experiences serve to show us where our wounds are, those that need to be healed, before we completely surrender to true love. Because in the end, we cannot give genuine love to each other until we have reconciled the parts of ourselves who still need healing. The connection you feel with this person is not a mere coincidence. It emerges as a result of a long process of self-discovery, where each experience, however challenging it has been, served as a preparation for what is to come. Have you ever wondered how these past experiences shaped you? And does life really prepare our soul for what is intended for us? The answer is in your intuition, which becomes sharper as you evolve. Jung talked about something that many call synchronicity. This manifests itself in small coincidences, those moments when you think of someone and immediately a song that remembers it plays or appears a symbol that seems to have a special meaning. These are not mere coincidences. What happens is that the collective unconscious, this invisible network that connects all of us, is working in its favor, showing the way to follow. When you begin to perceive these signs, everything around you begins to have deeper meaning, as if the universe is conspiring that you recognize what is really important. Have you ever noticed how often, when you are looking for something desperately, more difficult to find it? What if instead, would you focus on becoming the best version of yourself? Jung believed that we attract what we are, not what we desire with craving. When you let out control, when you surrender to the process of personal evolution, the universe reacts, and the connection intended for you arrives, not from grace, but from the full confidence in what you are. In a genuine bond, what makes the special relationship is not the difficulties that arise, but the way you together face and overcome obstacles. There is no place for unnecessary dramas or emotional games, because emotional clarity becomes the foundation of this union. And when a misunderstanding arises, the impulse is not to overcome or be right, but to restore harmony. The bond created becomes greater than any disagreement, as both know that their connection is rare and valuable. Jung also spoke about freedom in love. He said that true love is not restrictive but expansive. Authentic love does not require you to choose between your own dreams and shared dreams with the other person. It enhances both without ever asking for sacrifices from who you are or what you want to achieve in life. The person who is really intended for you will not limit you or try to change your essence, but to encourage your growth, walking by your side while both become more complete. True love does not limit, but celebrates who you are and drives you to find out who may be. For Jung, the purpose of love is not the search for superficial happiness, but the mutual growth journey directed to the fullness of being. When someone is really intended for you, this attraction goes far beyond physical appearance. Of course, there is that moment of spark, that irresistible chemistry, but over time, what really remains is a spiritual, emotional, and intellectual attraction. You will realize that you can spend hours talking or even sharing silences without feeling bored, as there is a deep understanding that transcends the words. It is as if their souls have communicated long before their bodies met in this life. Jung taught us that when two souls recognize themselves at the deepest level, the established bond is so solid that it can overcome any challenge that the external world puts in the way. Have you ever had the feeling that you have known someone for many lives? Or have you been comfortable sharing anything with someone at the beginning of a relationship? These moments are not mere coincidence. They are a concrete manifestation of what Jung called a deep connection in the collective unconscious, which allows us to feel that souls recognize and unite similar paths that have traveled in other existences. And in this earthly meeting, they choose to follow together for the purpose of growing even more. When someone is intended for you, there is no need to fight to keep that person in your life. What is intended remains naturally, because the bond between you does not require sacrifices or wear, but a continuous choice of walking side by side towards the truth of both. The effort, then, does not come from the fear of losing, but from genuine love and the desire to share the best of oneself. This kind of relationship is not an end in itself, but an invitation to constant personal, emotional, and spiritual growth. An important thing to remember: relationships intended for you come when you stop looking for what you need within you. Jung said that seeking to fill the internal voids with things or external people will never be enough until you heal what is inside you. Before you find the right person, life often requires you to face yourself, look at your shadows, and heal your emotional wounds deeply. You may be wondering why you had so many loving disappointments, or why some relationships just don't flow no matter how much you dedicate yourself. The answer is simple but powerful. These experiences were not failures. They were fundamental lessons that their soul needed to learn. Jung often reminded us that until we integrate what we repress, until we accept our shadows, we will continue to project them in other people. These difficult relationships you lived were like mirrors, showing what you needed to be healed before you could recognize and accept the person really intended for you. When someone is truly intended for you, something inside you feels it without the need for logical explanations. It is as if, by the time that person appears, his soul already knew who he is, as if he had recognized himself at a deep level, which does not depend on reason, but on an internal certainty that spreads throughout his being. Carl Jung talked about this sensation as a resonance, a kind of energy tuning between two people whose souls are already going together in some way in a similar evolutionary process. This resonance creates a strong and lasting connection which is difficult to break and which over time only tends to deepen. However, this does not mean that this person is perfect, nor that he will never hurt you or frustrate you. In fact, when someone is intended for you, the presence of this person has the power to confront your own unique wounds. Although this can be painful at first, it is a fundamental aspect of the healing and growth process. Jung said that deep relationships do not shy away from challenges. They use them as means to strengthen themselves. Each disagreement, every difficult time, becomes an opportunity for both to know each other better, to deepen the bond, and to evolve together. Thus, the relationship that is intended for you is not limited to a romance, but becomes a process of constant transformation, both emotional and spiritual. Being with the right person is like a trip where they both drive each other to become the best version of themselves. There is no room for competition, control, or manipulation. What exists, in fact, is a deep companionship in which both feel free to be authentic, to show their true is without masks. However, it is crucial to understand something important. Although this person is intended for you, they must both make a conscious choice to be together. Jung reminded us that fate does not remove free will. There is always the choice. Therefore, when two intended people meet, both should make the decision to walk together, not for lack of options, but because they understand the greatness of sharing a journey of mutual growth. Although the meeting has been driven by the soul, what really maintains the living bond is the daily choice of being together, of nourishing and strengthening this bond. Many people, however, mistakenly believe that when someone is destined for them, the effort is unnecessary. But, as Jung pointed out, all significant relationships require dedication, commitment, and emotional responsibility. True love involves taking care, protecting and cultivating what was given by fate. For although life brings the opportunity, it is up to both the effort to preserve and make the relationship flourish. When you are destined to share life with someone, this person drives you to discover a deeper version of yourself, to rediscover your essence. This person, when he comes to your life, seems to reveal a clearer version of who you really are. It reminds you of what motivates you, what makes you really vibrate, what makes you feel alive. Suddenly, you are no longer trapped in relationships that move you away from your essence, nor do you submit to bonds that ask you to get lost in search of something that does not match your deepest desires. Anyone who is destined for you comes with the mission to remind you that you deserve to be loved for what it is, without masks or conditions. Because this person is not limited to watching you from the outside, seeing only what is visible. They see you in the deepest of your soul. Many times, she knows you better than yourself, pointing out aspects of you who were hidden and awakening you to fears that once seemed impossible to face. It inspires you to embrace authentic love, the one who is born of the complete acceptance of the other, with all that he has good and also with his shadows. And it is precisely this relationship that transforms, a connection that not only respects but also speeds up its growth. It drives you to be better, stronger, harder, more you. If you are right now reflecting on the person by your side or wonders about the one that one day will come, pay attention to what you feel when you are with her. Emotions are, as Jung said, direct messages from our unconscious. When you feel at peace, safely, and at the same time there is a strong boost to evolve and become the best version of yourself, it is a sign that you are before someone destined for you. Not someone who takes energy, but someone who multiplies his strength, who expands his brightness. Always remember, what is intended for you will arrive at the perfect time. It's not about when you want, but when you really need it. Many relationships fail because we try to rush fate. We believe we can control the right moments. Jung has always stressed that everything has its time, and it is this time that is shaped by our own internal evolution. If today you don't have this person by your side, keep trusting, keep investing in your growth, your inner healing, because when you least expect it, you will recognize who is destined for you. The secret is in your own individuation process, on the journey to become who you really are. The more you connect with your essence, the clearer the feeling of knowing, without a doubt, that you found the right person. When this meeting happens, there will be no insecurity, no uncertainties, just a clear and absolute truth that goes beyond the mind. It will be like coming home, how to meet again in another being, as if destination finally manifested. And remember, when someone is truly destined for you, you don't have to make any effort. You just need to be yourself. Trust the process, trust your soul wisdom, because she knows exactly what you need and when you will find it. When we align with our true essence, something magical happens. The universe begins to conspire in our favor, creating the perfect conditions so that we can live the fullness we want so much. In a relationship intended, the most valuable is not just to share moments of happiness, but grow together, face the challenges side by side, and evolve with each step. In the end, the deepest purpose of any significant meeting is to help us become the best version of ourselves. The person intended for you is not just by your side. She guides you to a more true and bright version of your being. The relationships that fate brings us come when we are ready, when we can love ourselves completely and no longer depend on the approval of others. Jung said that the real encounter with the other is, first of all, a date with himself. And it is essential to remember that before loving someone else, you must learn to love yourself with the same dedication, respect, and affection you want to receive. Have you ever wondered what your life would look like if you allowed this truth to guide your choices? What if you set aside anxiety, haste, and the desire to control everything around you? What if you trust the wisdom of your unconscious, that silent and powerful voice that always points to the right direction? What you read here has come to you for a reason. Perhaps you are about to live a transforming meeting, or perhaps he has already crossed his way. The most important thing is that now you are aware that to be ready for this meeting, you need to live with more authenticity and confidence that you deserve the best. If this message has touched something inside you, it woke up some kept truth, I invite you to take a step further. Now, thinking of everything we talked about, have you experienced such an experience? Have you ever had that moment to realize that someone has come to your life to show you who you really are? How was this meeting? I really would like to know your story, what this reflection brought to you. Leave your comment below, because your words can play other people who are also looking for this true connection. If you connected with this video, leave your like. It is very important for our content to reach more people, and with that, we continue to spread more authenticity and true love out there. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos. Each message I share here is made with great affection to help you in your process of evolution and self-knowledge. Oh, and tell me, which city are you watching from? I want to know where you are following this content and exchange ideas with you. Let's get more and more together, looking to become the best version of ourselves. And remember, what is intended for you will arrive at the right time. Trust it.